versatility helps a lot. If you want to give yourself the best shot at working, you got to be able to do a lot of different styles of music, especially now. There's just so much less of it around,
Jack, you have played in front of audiences that have been astronomical, the size of these crowds that you've had from this drumming chair, that you've been able to look out at this ocean of people enjoying powerful music of the acts that you have played with. This must have been
best seat in the house.
The best seat in the house, and overwhelming and just memorable at the highest levels of what you've been able to do.
Yes. The short answer is yes. I kind of grew into it, so it wasn't so overwhelming all at once,
Yeah.
I started playing with some people, and as they grew, especially with Tina, started with her in places like this, playing in hotel ballrooms, 6 nights a week, 2 shows a night.
Absolutely.
And it just grew to that. So it was like this natural evolution, and it just sort of acclimated along the way. But yeah, I mean, looking back at some of that stuff now, it's like, wow, whoa. But,
where did music start for you? How did music and drumming enter your life?
My dad played. All his brothers and one of his sisters played. There were 8 of them. His dad played. There was music in the house, all the time.
What kind of music?
All kinds of music. As far as my dad was concerned, in my house, he played vibes. He played accordion. He listened to, swing stuff.
Yeah.
They played Italian tunes that they could sing along with, but that was in my house. But his brothers, my dad didn't play professionally. His brothers played, and their sons played, and they were quite successful in Boston. My uncle was a band leader, contractor, orchestrator, did the thing in town with the supper clubs. He was like the Ricky Ricardo thing. Whenever somebody had come to town, a singer, they'd play in town, he would get all the players. It was his band.
So you were surrounded by music. Did you start studying the instrument formally with teachers, or?
My cousin was a drummer. When I decided I wanted to play, he started giving me lessons. I was probably 8-ish, 9. Somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
He taught me all the basics, taught me reading, taught me all the dance grooves at the time.
So different styles. Were you working at any books at all?
Yes. I was reading those little march books, all those little tiny, snare drum march books.
Rudimental books, yeah.
Yeah. I was going through, what was the last book I had with him? Jim Chapin.
Dance techniques for the modern drummer, yeah.
And that right about that time, I think I was 12. I got into a rock band. That was the end of that. The book got closed, and I just started playing some other stuff.
What kind of music were you playing with the rock band?
It was instrumentals. We were playing Ventures stuff, Santo and Johnny, stuff like that.
Yeah.
That was about it. That was the first band I was in. So.
And how old were you at that time?
12.
So when did you start taking this from playing the instrument to more of a professional career? How did that transition go?
The typical stuff. You start playing in dances and whatever. You start playing in bars and clubs, and got my fake ID when I was 15, playing in clubs in Boston with a band and all that stuff.
So you're working, you're making a little money?
I was, yeah. Just working around Boston, playing in bars.
So did you realize this is what you wanted to do as a profession?
Yeah, yeah.
Early on?
Never any doubt.
Very interesting. So
I just never even considered anything else. I mean, it just seemed like this is what it was. It's just gonna happen.
But that's an amazing, feeling to have that clarity at a young age that this is what you wanted to do.
Well, being around the working musicians, my family, they worked. They did it. They were pros. They worked. They played the clubs. They played around town. They played. So it was perfectly normal, natural, supported. It was fine. I wasn't told to do it. I had to do something else. It was perfectly acceptable,
So where do you think that first, and that bigger break, I don't want to say the big break, but where did that first break come where all of a sudden now you were you were maybe beginning to tour or meeting up with some great legendary
Well, prior to
artists.
that, I was in a band. We were all still kids. I was like 16. We went to New York, got a record deal. We went to New York one summer. They were signing everybody. We got a record deal with Atlantic. We made a couple of albums, probably sold about 150 copies. That kind of just evolved into meeting other people and players in New York. There wasn't really a break. I mean, we really didn't make any money doing that. We had a couple of albums, but that was about it. Nothing happened till I moved to Los Angeles. I was just playing in bars around wherever I was living, or doing odd jobs, doing whatever.
Yeah.
Crappy jobs.
Just to survive,
whatever.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I moved to LA that I decided I really want to be someplace where I could do this, professionally, for a living. Actually make some money doing it. It took a few years, and it wasn't until I was like, I had been in LA for a few years and doing everything, whatever, meeting people, playing gigs, playing anything, auditions, showcases, weddings, bar mitzvahs, whatever I could get my hands on.
Whatever you could do, great.
Yeah, and so I just kind of followed wherever it led me, really. And then I was hearing about auditions. I started hearing about stuff, and I finally got a call for a teen audition. And I think I was 30 at that point in time. The guy called me up and said, "Hey, can you come down and do this audition?" I said, "Sure." He said, "I'll call you back. We'll schedule you in." Never heard from the guy. So I called him back like a couple of weeks later. I said, "What happened?" So he found somebody. I said, "Do you know any guitar players?" I said, "Yeah." I gave him a couple of names of guitar players. And maybe a month and a half later, he calls me back. Drummer didn't work out.
Interesting.
So one of your guitar player guys is on the gig, and he recommended that we call you.
It came right around back to you.
It came back to me. So that's pretty much the biggest, as far as a break goes, for a decent gig, was with Tina, and she wasn't really big at that time.
Right.
She
was on her own now.
She was on her own. She was playing. She was doing okay.
Yeah,
She was playing, and we were doing the hotel ballrooms, going to Vegas, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that was my first kind of good gig.
How did you hear about the audition? Was this word of mouth? Was this
just through the process of playing and meeting a whole lot of people, playing a lot of different gigs with different players? You find people who like you and will recommend you. And when somebody like her, I guess it was her tour manager at the time, starts looking around for a player, whoever, drummer, guitar player, and they start asking people, can you recommend somebody? So, who was somebody that I had worked with? So
word of mouth really, it still is today probably
still,
the
absolutely,
best way that somebody can say, contact Jack, bring it in.
I can't think of any other way that it happens, really. I mean, it's always somebody you work with, somebody you play with on whatever level, and the more people you play with, the more people you work with, they all branch out, do other things, and you never know.
We call this about connecting with your tribe. When you have people that are like-minded and have the same love for the instrument and or certain types of musical styles, you kind of gravitate together, and that's how, and that still works today. A lot of the young kids today look towards the internet as being their connection to work. And
it's hard for me to relate.
It's myself too, and from the generation that we came from, that's totally, not how we did it. Maybe it does work that way to a certain degree today, but it seems like the foundation and fundamental relationship building.
Got to have it.
It's got to be there.
Got to play with people. Yeah, you got to get out there and do it.
Well, there really isn't any other way, because you have to develop, it's that relationship cultivation that's got to be put into place. You're with Tina, you're playing, you're doing it. What's happening at this point in your life now? You're traveling with her, you're playing a lot with her.
Yeah. It was my steady gig, So
how much was she working at that time?
It was a while back.
Yeah.
I mean, we would do 2 weeks at a pop. We'd go to New Orleans to Fairmount hotels. We did a pile of those, wherever they were. Houston, Dallas, New Orleans, San Francisco. Go away, do 2 weeks. Once in a while, we'd go over to Europe and do like, a couple of shows in Spain. Like really off the beaten path.
Yeah.
She still didn't have a big record, she's still kind of, working on her past, Ike and Tina stuff.
Past Ike and Tina stuff, she's right there working on it. And how many were in the band?
2 keys, guitar, bass, drums. That was it.
So it's
And 2 dancers. Always dancers.
always dancers, yeah.
Gotta have them.
So how long were you with her, staying at that pace?
I did that from about 19, I think it was 80 or 81, doing that. And then it was really kind of funny because I left. I kind of got, I thought, I got tired of it.
Yeah.
Thought, this isn't going anywhere. I'm going to go back to LA and focus more on being in LA and see what else is about. I said, I don't really want to do this hotel thing anymore.
Yeah.
And the last night we played, we were in Jamaica. It was in Kingston, some hotel. And the tour manager played me some roughs of some stuff that Tina had recorded, One of them was What's Love? Got to do with it. I said, cool. I said, those sound great. See you, bye.
Oh.
And I left. They continued on, and she got, her album singles took off. But anyway, they came back to do a video in LA and called me up to do the video because the guy was from England. He was home, so I went back, did the video for her second single, I think it was, and then they asked me to come back. Money was better, dates were better, everything was better. I said, yeah, absolutely.
So you come back with her, you're hitting the road again now, and now you're hitting higher end venues, obviously, right?
Yeah. At that point, yeah, I think she had some contractual obligations in certain places, even though she had really started to take off at that point. But yeah, it all started to just get huge, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
So now you're making better money, you're traveling.
Yeah.
So how did the Joe Cocker relationship come into play?
One of the tours we did, 1988, 1987, 88, we had 2 guys in the band who had been working with Joe, John Miles and Derek Dyer.
Right.
They were out on a tour, the drummer wasn't working out. Once again, 2 guys I knew and that I had worked with. Joe, they were replacing the drummer, and my name came up. Well, he also had the same manager as Tina.
Yeah.
So that helped a lot.
And they knew you, they knew how you worked, you were professional.
Yeah, could cover the tunes that Joe did, his style of music, so.
And how was it working with Joe Cocker? I mean, what a talent.
Really different from Tina. He wasn't demanding at all about playing parts, or the grooves were more laid back for me. Tina was
always high
intense.
energy. High energy, yeah.
High energy,
yeah.
leaning forward,
yeah.
faster, So with Joe, it's like, I could relax, just get back, play back into it a little bit. So it was great. And he was just so humble and so just a band guy, He was just, it was just great to work with him,
And you traveled how far with Joe? Were you traveling?
Everywhere. With Joe was, at that point in time was still hugely popular in the rest of the world. He wasn't as popular in the States at that point in time. We're talking about 94.
Yeah.
But he was still doing massive, venues in Europe and South America. We were all over the place.
Are there any experiences that you have either with Tina or Joe that stand out, that were maybe lessons that you learned about music and or life that each one of those situations taught you?
I never stopped, I don't think, realizing how lucky I was to be where I was with the people I was working with.
Yeah.
I never lost sight of what I had going on, So I was grateful to be there, I guess that was a lesson, I was just, I was always aware of how good my gigs were, I was like thankful.
Hey, gratitude is a great understanding of life that is powerful.
And just playing being the guy, the player that they needed me to be, for, knowing it was, I'm the hired guy. I'm here to do what you need, know.
Yeah. But that's a great, value as a sideman to be able to know that you're going out there to make them look good. You're doing your job.
Yeah. Well, not your band.
It's not your band. Well, that's great that you saw that. What was it like? You hear about playing in large arenas and large venues. I mean, in front of 300,000 people at the Woodstock appearance with Joe Cocker in 1994. 300,000 people. What was that experience like?
At that point, it's almost surreal. There's so many people, you know, it's like this sea of people,
Yeah.
you know, and you just see these little tiny heads, you know, out there. You can see the people in the front and stuff, but with that many people, you know, not everybody is all at the party at the same time,
Right,
you know
right,
what I mean? So
right.
even with still a large crowd, but like 15, 20,000, you know, if you get all those people going at the same time, it's amazing. 300,000, not so much, because it just doesn't happen.
Yeah, yeah.
One thing that really stands out is this gig we did with Tina in Maracanã Stadium in Rio. There was a huge crowd there. It was like 180,000 people.
Incredible.
In the
incredible.
stadium.
Yeah.
They all came to the party. It was so amazing, that amount of energy. I mean, the energy that was coming off the stage and from the crowd, I'm sure we could have lit up a small
The
village.
Brazilians, right?
Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah, that was incredible. But normally, with a humongous crowd, they're not always all involved, you know.
Yeah. And what's it like, you know, as a drummer, you gotta play your instrument, you've got to have your monitor feed, you've got to have sound the way you want it. How did you organize all of that as far as what you needed in the monitors, sound checks? How'd that go?
Just whatever you like. I mean, you can't get too much stuff in there. I mean, I started the bigger shows when nobody was using in-ears.
Right.
And we were using some pretty large monitors to overcome all the sound that was going out front, and
Yeah.
I lost a lot of hearing along with a whole lot of other people I know. I would try to get what I could off the stage, as much as I possibly could hear on the stage. And in big places, it's really hard to do because
Yeah.
everything's out in front of you. So I was getting a lot of everything in my monitors with and it was loud. I mean, it was
I'm sure it was.
loud.
So you had drums, vocal, all instruments?
I would keep some stuff out, like background vocals, you know, just try not to clutter up. I would get what I needed, you know,
Right.
rhythm section instruments, you know.
Right.
Myself, Tina, or whoever.
Yeah.
Needed to hear the vocal, didn't need to hear the BVs, you know, have the keys in there, have everything in there that I needed, you know. Guitar, keys, bass, myself.
So you felt secure that what you heard allowed you to drive that band in front of these large crowds.
You did the best you could with, sometimes you couldn't hear well.
Yeah.
It was just so huge and loud. You know, it was just, you were sort of, it was radar. You know, you were just kind of, I hope I'm playing with these guys. You know.
But that's what impresses me so much, because people don't realize that sometimes there are challenges, but you were able to hold this rock steady in all these performances. That's got to be an innate skill that comes into just experience that teaches you that.
You know, it was me just trying to stay steady and people playing with me.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, because sometimes you just couldn't hear everything that was going on.
Yeah.
You just couldn't.
Yeah.
But in-ears made everything so much better.
And when did that start happening with in-ears?
Boy, it was later on, and even when people started using them, I was still using wedges, still using monitors. I can't remember exactly when I first started, but boy, it just made everything so much clearer. It was so great.
And again, you were allowed to have in your in-ear monitors what you wanted, so it didn't have to be as loud.
Correct.
So the clarity of that sound, did that change your playing at all?
No, in fact, sometimes I think I was playing harder, because sometimes it's hard to judge when you have in-ears on. Sometimes they'll put limiters on them. You know, sometimes you're smacking snot out of that snare drum. It's like, why isn't it getting any louder? You know. Sometimes I felt like I was playing harder. You know, till they sort of really suss things out. But no, I didn't play any easier. You know, I was always playing pretty hard in those days with Tina and Joe, or any large hall.
After that point.
But I was younger too.
So let's talk about the business side. I mean, you got to organize this. You've got to have a schedule. You've got to be on time. Tell me some of the things that you learned about just how to run the business.
It wasn't difficult. I mean, it was pretty, you know, as far as, you're talking about what pay goes, as far as a gig, or are we talking about with different gigs?
Were there contracts that you had to sign that when you went on tour? Was there?
No contracts with neither. Later on with Tina, there were some contracts, but you know, they were pretty basic. as far as, you know, we expect you to be here to do this whole tour.
Right.
But basically, the contracts were, we can fire you, but you can't quit. That's what it was.
Yeah,
and this is what we're going to pay you.
That's pretty much how musicians are treated at that point of what they want to have that control over. But you worked steadily, you kept on, you know, showing up for these on time, and you had an incredible run.
Well, yeah, on time was just part of it, but that's with anybody on any level, you know. So on time, prepared, ready, you know the stuff, and, you know, show up.
But these are great qualities, you know, and this is great that you're bringing this up, because I say, you know, in closing, if I had to think of these young musicians that are watching this, what would you share with them as closing thoughts? What would you share with them to say, this is what you need to do to be prepared to have a career in the music industry from all the experience that you've had? Being prepared
if you get a call for something, or, you know, if you're just going to be called to do a gig, you know, if you're reading, you know, obviously you're going to be a great reader, hopefully. Yeah, showing up, being prepared, ready, know the stuff, know the material. If you go into an audition, nail it. I mean, know it. Go in there and just own it. You know, I mean, you gotta, you know, when I had auditions, I would get the tunes, and or if somebody would call me to do a gig, and there was not going to be rehearsal, I'd know that stuff when I walked in.
So you did the homework.
Absolutely, you got to do the homework. You got to do the homework. You got to be prepared. Got to do it.
You know, it's amazing, because were you listening to, you know, different types of music, you know, concurrently through all these different bands? Were you focused on just their music?
Oh no, I would tour with them and then go back to LA and play with other people, play different gigs, play clubs, play casuals, play whatever. You know, play lots of different stuff. I mean, you know, just be versatile. You know, play a lot of different kinds of music. I mean, everybody has their faves, and I'm no jazz guy, and I don't, you know, I don't really do jazz. I can swing. You know, versatility helps a lot. Being able to play a lot of different styles. If you want to give yourself the best shot at working, you know, you got to be able to do a lot of different styles of music. You know, especially now. There's just so much less of it around. You know, reading, boy. If you can read, it just opens up a whole nother door. You can do, you know, what's left of them, movie sessions and TV sessions, and you know, because those guys go in and they read it down once and take it. You know, no messing around. If you can't do that, you're out. I don't do that. I can't do that.
That's a whole nother skill base of what it is, and what you have done has been amazing. The experience you have, and just the movement forward of our art form of modern drum set. You've been consistent all the time. Yeah, I've been fortunate to have picked up the work that I picked up. You know, happy to be here. Well, there obviously was something about your playing, your musicality, your personality. All those qualities must have all formed, you know, who Jack Bruno is, because you really have this incredible reputation, and that's something which you earned. So your personal constitution is something that really was a part of the bigger picture. And this advice that you've given to this next generation is really well needed for them to hear about preparation, about going out there and taking ownership and the responsibility of going out there to give 110%. Yeah. You can go to, you can do the auditions. If you're not, when you get one, if you don't deliver when you get there, you know, it's your own fault. Well, that's what it comes at. It's your own fault. Well, you have shown that you can lead the way and be prepared and do it, because you have done that. You continue to do that. For that, we are so thankful at the sessions. We thank you so much, Jack. You have been fantastic. My pleasure. Thanks. Good man. Thanks. It was great. Thank you.